Few people can claim to be more influential on the development of extreme metal as Thomas Gabriel Fischer, aka Tom G. Warrior. As the founding guitarist and vocalist of seminal underground metal transgressors Hellhammer, Tom and his bandmates were the original Napalm Death, repelling many critics but spawning a whole host of artists that connected with their raw proto-death metal as early as 1983. Of course, Tom is famous for the pioneering avant-garde metal of Switzerland's Celtic Frost, the band that evolved from Hellhammer and released their highly influential debut Morbid Tales in 1984. With possibly the heaviest guitar tone of the 1980s and one of the fiercest throat assaults of any vocalist from that era, the Celtic Frost debut can claim to be a primary influence on at least 4 genres: death metal, sludge metal, death doom, and even grunge. Its 1985 follow-up to Megatherion is a favourite of the Norwegian black metal scene that erupted in the early 1990s and is arguably the first metal record to experiment with elements of avant-garde, a sound that would come to fruition with the monumental Into the Pandemonium, which to this day remains one of the most imaginative and forward-thinking metal records of all time. Without this LP, you'd have no Paradise Lost, My Dying Bride, Dimmu Borgir, Therion, Emperor, or Septic Flesh. It's easy to forget that combining classical music with extreme metal in 1987 was so far beyond the horizon, just as reciting the poetry of Charles Baudelaire and drawing upon the gothic serenades of Sisters of Mercy and Christian Death was far beyond comprehension at the time. It took Celtic Frost from the underground to the precipice of mainstream acceptance, yet they imperiled their legacy a year later with the most hated record in the annals of heavy metal, 1988's Cold Lake. To this day, Cold Lake remains a controversial album for swapping the avant-garde proto-death metal of early releases for the popular cock rock extravaganza of the day. Tom hates it, Celtic Frost fans hate it, but unfortunately it cannot be expunged. Did Celtic Frost lose their momentum after the disaster of Cold Lake? Their 1990 comeback album Vanity Nemesis was a return to form, but the experimental impulse of To Megatherion and Into the Pandemonium made way for a more technical Megadeth assault despite some remarkable gothic metal moments. By 1992, the band went their separate ways, abandoning their album Under Apollyon Sun and leaving its vision to re-emerge in 2000 with Tom's new band, the aptly named Apollyon Sun. By now a godfather of the extreme metal scene that he helped to create in the mid-1980s, the thirst and clamour for Celtic Frost reached new heights in the early 2000s and culminated in one of the greatest comeback albums of all time, 2006's masterful Monotheist LP. Named as Terrorizer magazine's Record of the Year and a recipient of multiple accolades, this ought to have been the moment Celtic Frost reaped the rewards for their influence on the contemporary extreme metal scene. But they imploded once again. Following the death of bassist and visionary Martin Eric Hain in 2017, Tom closed off all avenues to a Celtic Frost reunion, but continues the legacy with the successor band Triptychon, who released 2 extremely acclaimed albums in 2010 and 2014 respectively. He also resurrected the Hellhammer entity with his live band Triumph of Death, playing the band's songs live for the first time in over 3 decades. In summary, Thomas Gabriel Fischer is a giant in the evolution of extreme metal as an experimental art form that would go on to gain wider acceptance after its initial dismissal as nothing but repugnant noise. His vision and risk-taking mark him as one of the most innovative creators of heavy metal since the inception of Black Sabbath.